Thank you for joining us. Spring weather has arrived, so there should be a lot of smiles on everybody's faces. Let's hope we keep them that way for the rest of this meeting. Okay, we have returned to regular session from executive session. We were in there, so we are back in public regular session. And the next item on our agenda, we're up to item number 5, which is public comments. Do we have any?
No, sir.
Okay. Next is public presentations, and our first one is being withheld till our next meeting, thanks to Georgia Traffic Jams. And we'll go now to the introduction of the building inspector, Michael Sika. Did I say that right?
Sika.
Sika?
The Italian way is Sika.
And I'm not even Italian.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yep, there we are. Yes, as you mentioned, Mr. Michael Sika from lives in Bluffton now, but has come to us by way of one of our developers in town, and our inspectors met him and thought he would be a good fit, and we kind of recruited him, and we are very pleased to have him all the way from Queens, Brooklyn, New York. So I'll let him tell you a little bit about us. We're very happy he has hit the ground running and very busy.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having me here today.
Welcome.
Well, I'd just like to say that, as Brana has mentioned, I was recruited, but in honesty, when I was talking to the inspectors over the few months of working with them, I was just impressed by their wealth of knowledge, and they talked about training, and I knew they would be the best at it. So when they kind of mentioned I should apply, I jumped on that opportunity right away.
Great. Well, welcome. We wish you a lot of luck. And I have a couple of really good friends in Queens. So, yeah, we'll have to compare notes. It's a big place. Council, anybody have words of welcome?
Welcome.
Glad you're here.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
Great. Good luck.
All right.
Best wishes.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you around.
Thank you. Next, we have special introduction of the City of Hardeeville Canine, Bally, Odin, and Luna. Which one are you?
You choose. Mayor and council and the city staff, thank you. We find it a privilege to be able to come in here and showcase 3 of Hardeeville's finest that happens to be our 4-legged friends and their canine handler partners. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring in each one of these canines one at a time, let you know who they are, what teams they work for, and what they specialize in, and we'll move through each one of those canines. Again, it's 3 of them. We'll keep it short and sweet for you, but we just want to be able to introduce them to you. So what we have is the Hardeeville Police Department Canine Unit. It consists of 3 canines. These canines are all certified through the American Society of Canine Trainers. That includes several weeks of training, which is included in classroom and field training. They have to pass a written exam on the first attempt, and any failures that result in being excluded from certifying through this organization. So this is a first-time go. It's extremely important that these guys absorb all the information they get during the training so that they are able to bring those canines back. The certifications through the American Society of Canine Trainers, they certify in narcotics, apprehension, and tracking. As you see up there, they have 4 vehicles that they do, and this is all during the certification process. They search 4 vehicles. 3 out of those 4 have narcotic finds in them. If the team has the response to the odors, they've got to be able to successfully locate those narcotics. Any type of false indication to those vehicles is an automatic elimination. So that's extremely important that, we understand what these dogs are capable of and what they have to do in order to be certified canine police dogs. They also go in and search a 1,500 square foot building, 2 hides, and they have to do those within a permitted time frame or they're excluded. The apprehension, they're trained in obedience. They do building searches with a suspect. They have to successfully locate the suspect inside of the building, indicate the presence of that suspect, The canine is released and has to apprehend that subject within a permitted time frame, and the handler must be able to call that canine off at any given time, or they're excluded from the certification. Same thing with tracking. They do a 3/4 mile track that ages for 30 minutes with one road crossing, one intersection, and has 30 minutes to locate. So this is part of the process that our canine handlers go through. They have to certify as a team in order to be able to come out and work the street. So first we have PFC John Matali and Canine Luna. Canine Luna is a narcotics, tracking, apprehension, and article search canine. Canine Luna has actually been with Officer Matali since she was 6 weeks old. She's conducted over 600 vehicle sniffs. Her favorite thing to do is track. Actually has over 60 real-time tracks with over a 90% success rate. That's huge. So the majority of time that this canine's been put on the ground, they've been able to successfully locate. When we say track, we mean anyone from missing persons, criminal apprehensions, you name it. Got a 90% success rate. Officer Batali has a degree in animal behavioral science and is also a certified trainer and instructor through the American Society of Canine Trainers. And he is currently assigned to Patrol Team C and D, and we just want to welcome him to our department along with Canine Luna. If anybody has any questions for Officer Matali?
I know the answers now.
So we are very selective. Some of these canines, you remember, they are police work dogs. Luna is very obedient. Again, been going through this training since she was six weeks old.
Are they mixed breeds or?
I'll check her, so she has to go.
Okay.
One thing I'd like to see is a ball.
Yeah.
That's a reward for performing. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Officer Matali, we
And
thank you.
how old is she now?
Can I ask a
How
question?
old is Luna now? Yes.
I don't usually, Luna is a female dog. Aren't most of our tracker or most of our dogs males? So that's kind of unique, right?
Correct. Yes. Yes.
You know women got the attitudes.
He's precious. Oh,
She's my baby.
Oh.
Probably got maybe a year and a half left.
And she works hard.
I'm working.
Works very hard.
Six or
Yeah,
seven.
she'll be 8 in November, so.
Oh, 8. She'll be 8. So you really
So
see.
after 8, you retire?
Depends on her health and how she moves. I mean, right now she's doing fine and don't stop, so.
So will she stay with you when she retires?
Yeah, she's mine. I bought her as a puppy. So, yeah.
We got a 2-for-1 deal.
You always will. I always have my own dog. So. Well, it's expensive to have a dog.
To watch these dogs work outside when you brought them to Margaritaville is simply amazing. To see.
Phenomenal. Yes.
It's impressive in this room, but outside it is really
Absolutely.
stunning.
Absolutely. We thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next one that we're going to bring in, what I am going to do is I'm going to refrain from trying to allow anyone to actually have physical contact with this canine. This canine is very loyal. He is obedient with his handler, but he loves his handler and not many other people. He does love you, and he will work very hard for the citizens of Hardeeville. But this is one of the canines that is still very young, only 2 years old. She's got a lot to learn, but she is excellent, and that is going to be Corporal Humbert and Canine Odin. Canine Odin is certified in narcotics and tracking. Canine Odin and Corporal Humbert have been certified as a team for 1 year. Odin has conducted multiple vehicle building searches, and the vast majority have led to quantities of narcotics being removed from our streets. Corporal Humbert and Canine Odin have certified successfully through 2 different nationally accredited organizations and is currently assigned to Patrol Team A and B. If you have any questions for Corporal Humbert and Canine Odin,
He is an impressive looking animal.
he's beautiful.
He's a beautiful dog.
And he has been very successful for us so far. We've done multiple, search warrants with our drug enforcement units and have had so much success out of Canine Odin so far.
All right. His
But
breed's a Malloy.
it is a Belgian Malinois, yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yup.
And last but not least, we have our supervisor over the Hardeeville Canine units, and that is Sergeant Aaron Ager and Canine Bali. K9 Bali and Sergeant Egger have been certified as a team since 2019. They've certified again with 2 nationally accredited organizations. Within the first 6 months of becoming a certified team, K9 Bali and Sergeant Egger had their very first live track, which resulted in the capture and arrest of an armed robbery suspect here in Hardeeville. Since then, K9 Bali has been responsible for multiple tracks narcotic searches. Sergeant Egger, of course, is the supervisor of the Hardeeville Police Department's K9 team and is currently assigned as a split between the other 2 K9s. So he often works between patrol teams A, B, C, and D. And he is a German Shepherd and a big boy at that.
He is a big boy.
He's a big boy.
So if y'all have any questions or anything for Sergeant Egger, he's here to answer for you.
I think so. Do all of our vehicles, are they all equipped with an auto release? So if you're away from the car, you can pop the dog out, or do you have to take the dog out manually each time?
Correct, but they are equipped with a temperature gauging system. So in other words, if the temperature gets to a certain degrees inside the vehicles, it does have a lot of safety features that will kick fans on, roll down windows, etc.,
Okay.
just to keep them safe.
Okay.
But he is just as tall as his handler.
Yes, he is. I love it. The size of his paws show that.
Yeah, he's gorgeous.
that.
Sergeant Egger, we thank you. And I'll tell you just a funny story about the first K9 Luna. She was chasing 3 subjects who had fled out of a stolen vehicle along the Savannah River. This was shortly after coming into Jasper County. Got loose from her handler. The handler, because of the thickness of the woods, wasn't able to catch back up, but the other officers found Luna with those suspects. So it was great, and it worked out well for all parties involved. But we do want to thank you from the Hardeeville Police Department and our K9 unit. We thank you for all the support that you guys have given us and all the support that you're going to give us in the future. And to the city manager, we know that you're our biggest support group when it comes to these K9s. And we thank you for all the support you give us, and thank you for allowing me to come here today. Any questions?
We have a group, and actually it's one resident in Margaritaville who is a travel agent, and she's in the process. In fact, she already has it organized, a cruise with the Hardeeville and Jasper County K9 units to be the beneficiary, hopefully to be able to provide them with ballistic vests,
cool.
medical kits, and medical training for the officers, which this is all part of the community and everybody is growing. I hope that's very successful.
Yes, sir. And we thank you, and we look forward to setting up more of those events in Margaritaville, Sun City, all over the city like we did with our K9s, because until you can actually put them on display, you don't realize what they're really capable of. But these are some of the hardest working officers, and they don't ask for a single paycheck, just a ball. That's it. All right. You guys have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all take-
And best wishes to everyone.
Oh my goodness, those dogs.
They're not
Ne-
the kind you
next.
want to settle with.
I'm a sucker for dogs.
Next, we have the presentation and approval of minutes from the March 16th, 2023 regular city council meeting. May I have a motion to approve, disapprove, or make any changes to the minutes of March 16th?
I'll make the motion that we approve the minutes of March 16th.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any further comments or questions by council? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are approved. Next, we go on to old business, and this was tabled from, was it March 2nd?
March. It was March 2nd. I think it was.
March, okay. And there are 3 ordinances related to this particular project. The first one is annexing 1.41 acres, and the second one amends the zoning, and the third one is the master plan submittal for this project. The total project is 23.74 acres. So there are 3 separate ordinances. First one, the annexation is 2023-2-2B. The second one, which is the zoning, amending the zoning, is 2023-2-2C. And the master plan is 2023-2-2D. I'd like to suggest to the council that if you have any questions on any part of this project, that we deal with all three as one entity. However, there will be three separate votes. So, having said that, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Zimborger.
Yes, sir. Good evening, and thank you very much. So the council did approve first reading. There were some questions and concerns about access, ingress and egress to the site, as well as the required traffic mitigation. The council asked us to confer with South Carolina Department of Transportation and the Beaufort County relating to any suggestions, concerns, since we've jointly developed a 170 master plan for proposed future improvements to 170. We did hold that meeting on March 29th. The council did receive a memo regarding what was discussed, the proposed traffic access, as well as the proposed mitigation for the proposed project. The council does have a copy of that. We can bring that up if we want to go through that just briefly. We do have the applicant here, as well as the engineer and the traffic engineer for the project. Both Beaufort County and the Department of Transportation representative concurred with the findings as detailed in the memo, which would obviously prompt us to make a recommendation that the council approve at second reading the three ordinances relating to the proposed development. Ms. Snow, do you want to bring that up? I don't know if either the traffic engineer or the engineer for the project wants to go through the results of the memo.
Connor, Josh, I don't know. Maybe tag team it. Make sure that we're all on the same page. We can second page if you need to.
Okay.
And there's a pointer, and if you need to pull the site plan up, you have to do that.
Good evening, Connor Blaney with Ward Edwards Engineering, the civil engineer behind this project. Happy to be here and thank you all for your time. As Mr. Sinmore relayed, that a separate meeting was conducted with all the parties, including Jared Fralix with County Traffic Engineering. SCDOT was conducted. We discussed the background of this project, what was proposed, the proposed access points, alternative solutions we looked at and analyzed, and ultimately it was concluded that proceeding after the meeting at time of staff review, an analysis under future conditions of the proposed development and access points should be conducted to ensure any additional mitigations would be adhered to at that time. But the proposed plan and access points are generally in conformance with the SC 170 access management plan, and that the proposed development and access points as proposed doesn't inhibit the implementation of those future improvements.
I'm going to go a little bit out of order for the sake of time.
Understood.
Okay? Because there have been some emails back and forth when we received this memo. And one of my concerns, and I think it's shared by some, this memo and that meeting details things that says, okay, what was planned is there's no better idea. Jared Fralick says that they can implement the corridor access plan even if this exists. But I read this several times, and at no point did anybody say this is safe. And I know that has us concerned. I will recommend, and it's up to the council how far they want to take this conversation. We have a meeting with SCDOT on April 17th. I personally feel, because this memo has not made me comfortable, any more comfortable than it did when we tabled this a month ago. It did nothing to improve all the concerns we had a month ago. So I'm going to recommend to this council that we hold this off until we have that meeting with SCDOT on April 17th and bring this back at next meeting based on what we hear from SCDOT. So it's up to the council. I'll open it up to the council. But at the end of the day, I do not think we've come back and answered the concerns of safety that we expressed when we tabled this the first time. So having said that, I'm going to open it up to the council to take questioning as far as they want to take it. I have some questions, but I'll reserve that in my normal order. So, Steve, let's start with you.
All right. I look at this. This is the same thing that I all but rejected the last time, coming back this way. I have concerns. These apartments, will children be there? Is this going to have access for a school bus in and out? I see these traffic studies, and I said it earlier this evening. A traffic study, they talk about vehicles. Do they address the types of vehicles, be it trucks, school buses, or whatever? There's a big difference in all of that. I'm just very uncomfortable with this in and out and the other, the Green Acres Road. It's hard for me to wrap my head around that. That's it.
The vehicles. Thank you. Yeah, concerning the types of vehicles, we do take that in. I'm sorry, my name is Joshua Mitchell. I'm work with Stantec, the traffic engineer for this project. Thank you for that question. And yes, in our traffic studies, we do incorporate the types of vehicles that are entering, not just passenger vehicles, but heavy vehicles, buses, and that all goes into our existing traffic counts and how we do our analysis for the future. And that also goes into the proposed length of the turn lanes, and everything like that is based upon the types of vehicles that are going to be using the facility.
How do you know that? You don't even know what type of residences are going to be in this building yet, do you?
There are industry standards for based on the type of residence or the type of land development, the heavy vehicle percentages, and what you typically see at a project of that nature. So we do take that into account.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, my concerns are the same as the last time about the deceleration, acceleration lanes coming in. Because I drive up and down 170, and every time I pass Green Acres, it gives me the heebie-jeebies, because I know this is what you guys are planning on doing, and I am actually scared. And I don't think, reading this memo, I don't think those safety concerns have been adequately addressed. And I have nothing against the project, but.
So if I may.
Welcome. Please state your name and address, name for the record, please.
Marcus Wiedauer, represent Hill Point, the developer. First off, thank you again. Thank you for this process. I think we all know at this point that I'm a patient man, and I want you guys to be comfortable. We want to be good neighbors. Whether it's going back to the drawing board and offering teachers and first responders a discount to live in our facility, or addressing some of the multitude of other concerns that we've dealt with. Obviously, we can't change exactly what's going on 170. We can't force the last meeting, Mr. Mears, that I was here for. I agreed with you. I would have been fine with our solution of a write-in. Those are the types of things that we like to do in a community. We want to kind of adapt and be good neighbors, but we can't control South Carolina DOT. What I will say, where I do understand the concerns of safety and the sheer magnitude of things that are going along 170, South Carolina DOT is not going to permit something that's not safe. Our engineers aren't going to risk their licensure on things that aren't safe. I understand that doesn't change the concerns on the highway, and it doesn't change what South Carolina DOT will say. It won't change what they say 3 weeks from now. And if it's the will of the council, I'll wait. I have no problem with that. I think I've proven that we're not trying to shove this down your throat by any stretch of the imagination. We want you to be comfortable. The other reality of this is that it can be developed today as a commercial site and it never comes in front of you. A developer that is not interested in satisfying your concerns can come right behind me and build something that you would like even less. Not that you're, necessarily love what we're doing. I don't know. But, I think somebody can come behind us in a commercial environment and build something that's going to create a much larger problem and not have the same consideration. Again, I'm happy for you guys to have a meeting and wait. I am skeptical that South Carolina DOT is going to say anything that agrees with some of the things that we have agreed to in this room. Again, I'm at the pleasure of the board. I'm not going to stomp my feet or out my fist if we need to put this off. I will just say that I don't have a lot of faith that SCDOT is going to change their stance, and that they're also not going to approve something that's unsafe. Neither are engineers. And I stand ready, willing, and able to be a good neighbor to Hardeeville. And, that's my plea. So I'll stand for any questions.
If I may say, sir, yes, the council, we are well aware of the commercial zoning. We do not need to be reminded of that. And also, yes, it is zone commercial, but I highly doubt that a commercial would have the same amount of in and outs per day as a large apartment building may have. But, I would love to hear from DOT what their reasoning is to not allow the right in only. We discussed that. We all discussed that, and we thought that might be a good solution. It's a safe solution, but I'd like to hear directly from DOT why they don't approve that. What do they see that we can't see?
Well, I think that first of all, let's get back in order, all right? And we'll continue with it. The reason I suggest that we wait because we already have a meeting with them scheduled 10 days from now. And I think everybody on this council wants to hear what they have to say and have them look us in the eye. And because what we asked for when we tabled this is for other solutions. There's none. This is just reiterating what was told to us the last time. So we have DOT coming in, and I have questions about another project as well, not just yours. But me personally, I want DOT, the head guy, to look me in the eye and tell me he'll be responsible for the safety of our public, because I don't feel good about 4 curb cuts in a third of a mile without something different going on. The project, your company, we're very supportive. We just want to make sure that we've turned over every stone to make sure that every option to make that accessibility safe that we've looked at. So I want to get back on track and turn it over to Mr. White.
I'd like to pick up with what you said, being a good neighbor and wanting to do this the right way. And I think that Harry's suggestion of the meeting on the 17th, which is 11 or 12 days from now, I think is in the spirit of thoroughness, safety, getting all the questions asked, so that when we get to the conclusion, we've taken every opportunity to hear every piece of information to make the very best decision we can make. So I think that's a wise decision, and I think it fits right into the spirit that you've come with of being as thorough as possible. So I think that's an excellent suggestion.
And again, I'm completely amicable with that. I might suggest, if you will, in that meeting, flesh out the traffic counts and their opinion on commercial via multifamily, because I don't want to be the only one saying it. I know that it's easy for me to sit up here and try to sell our project, and I understand the skeptical nature of not wanting to vet that thoroughly. So please ask them, because
Thank you.
I don't know that they're going to see that way. I mean, but please ask them, because I don't want to be the only one standing here trying to convince you of that.
We,
Thank you.
we will be asking a lot of questions. Mr. Carroll.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not going to beat this to death. I mean, the project is wonderful. I mean, it really is. And I applaud you for being so cooperative and patient with us. And like I say, I have no problems with the project at all, but I guess the mayor summed it up. It's pretty well the same as what's the old saying, same old, same old. It's the same as what we had last time, and that's not your fault. I mean, you can only do so much. And it's obvious that everybody, I think, is concerned and wants to meet with the DOT. So I don't have any problems, since we are all kind of concerned and all is agreeing with what Mr. Williams said about recommending the table. I don't know if it's time for me to do that yet, Mr. Mayor, or not. But
Well, I'd just like to ask a couple of quick questions so that we're prepared for the next time. So we'll either come away, the 5 of us, convinced after the DOT meeting or not convinced. But we won't put you, on the waiting line too much longer, if the council decides to table. But just clarify for us what will happen, or what the plan is to happen. And I'm not sure who can answer this. Will there be acceleration and deceleration lines at lanes, and how long will they be? Or are they just going to be curb cuts in and out?
I'll let them answer that, but ultimately I will say that, if you want to get into more details.
Because we talked about it back and forth. I just want to make sure I understand and the council understands what the current plan is, so that when we do ask questions of DOT, we can be very specific about what the plan is.
Yes. Thank you very much. There will be a deceleration lane into the main access point along 170. And per the SCDOT access and roadside management standard, which gives recommended turn lane lengths, that will be 100 feet of storage and 200-foot taper. So it allows you, that taper is distance to change speed and get over without impacting those behind you, and then the storage distance to make your turn. And that's based on the turning volumes into the driveway. So that will be included and is recommended in the traffic study.
And there's no acceleration lane coming out?
Correct. That is not currently recommended, and we coordinated with SCDOT to ask that question about whether that would be permitted, and we're advised that would not be permitted under what they typically allow.
And may I add to that? And this is a question, please ask them. Because again, I think we could agree to things that they won't agree to. Okay? I think the mentality there is, let's say you do have an acceleration lane. Okay. Well, I can come out and turn right and enter into an acceleration lane regardless of what traffic's coming. I begin to accelerate, but I don't find the gap. Okay. And maybe there's somebody accelerating behind me. Now I don't find the gap. I'm slamming on my brakes. Somebody's slamming in behind me. So you don't see as many acceleration lanes in that type of environment. You'll see that obviously on I-95 and larger roads like that, where the speeds and have a larger warning track on the other end if you have a problem. You don't see that on these types of roads, because if you get to the end of that acceleration lane, you have a problem if you have not found a gap in the traffic. If you're sitting there stopped, waiting to take a right turn, you have to wait for a gap before you can make that right turn. And that is what please ask them, but I would suggest that is what they're going to tell you, is that it is a safer turning into a gap, a known gap into the lane, as opposed to turning into an open lane, attempting to accelerate and never finding that gap. But please ask them.
Okay, here's where I get a little concerned. It's one thing to look in a book. It's one thing to go out there. What happens, what this situation has, without a shoulder, coming out of this where you plan to do that, within less than 0.2 of a mile, is a curb cut into that the graveyard, the propane graveyard, and then the turn in to Green Acres Road in less than 0.2 of a mile. So I'm looking to come out of there without an acceleration lane, and cars are coming to make a right-hand turn into either one of those curb cuts right in front of me. So to me, and not being a traffic expert, there should be an acceleration lane starting at that point all the way past Green Acres so that all those people, because you're looking at the oncoming traffic and you're going to start pulling out and they're going to slow down and cut in front of you. That is because of the short time distance. And then on top of that, as the car comes out of that turn, which is why we ask for a right-in only, as he's accelerating, there's another person at the median cut making a left-hand turn to go into Green Acres Road. And all this is happening on a roadway that's going to have the 2040 estimates from LATS is 60,000 cars a day at 60 miles an hour. So there's no area, no distance for all those concurrent things to happen, and that's what our concern is. And maybe you can't answer that, and that's why we have to ask DOT and ask them to go look at this, and don't look in the book, and go look at what Mrs. Guzman says. It frightens her, because it's a lot different when you're sitting there without a shoulder, and it's really kind of frightening.
And I will just add to that, and I'll stop being the S-word for sure. is regardless of what development comes, SCDOT is going to have their opinion. And what I would commit to you, I will do what, if they tell me to put a red light, I promise you're not going to hear me complain. I will put a red light. I will put an acceleration lane. I will put anything South Carolina DOT wants to tell me to put.
Allows you to do.
So, and that's going to go for any development on this property.
Right. Listen, it's
So
not just
I'm
you.
not asking you for anything more. I wouldn't ask you.
Let's stay in order. I have the floor. Let's go just one-on-one. Those are the questions we have, and we'll put that to DOT. And I ask these questions because I want you to understand why I personally feel that we need to talk to DOT and look them in the eye, tell them what our concerns are, and see if they can get out of the book and look and see what other safe plan there is. Because, I get uncomfortable with the report that says, okay, they discussed a frontage road, but then you have to go talk to the other property owners. And what people say to me, people that live here, and say, well, why did you approve that? And they would say, they would answer you and say, well, why don't you get that done first before we approve it? Because a frontage road is the right solution, or a better solution, and you have to get permission from other landowners. Well, go check that out before you ask us to make a vote. And that's what our residents are saying to me. Why don't you get these things settled before you say yes? Because to the common person, solve the problem before you create it. And that's what we're struggling with here. So again, I'm beating the dead horse. I'm going to get off my soapbox, and because we all like your project. We all like your project better than commercial. All those issues are not at stake here. What's at stake here is how do we approve a plan that we all feel comfortable that satisfies our number one concern, and that's public safety. So let us do that. We'll see what the motion is, if the council wants a vote on second reading or if they want to table it. It's up to the majority of this council to make that decision.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, so, and just so they know, April 17th, we are meeting with them at noon. So obviously you're invited to that meeting. We will inform them that we're going to talk about both of these projects. And we will also, the other applicant that you have concerns about on our
Yes.
Boulevard, we will have them here as well. So again, you'll hear it and there'll be a good discussion and dialogue, and hopefully there'll be some reasonable conclusions at the end of that workshop.
It is a public meeting. And we asked for this meeting so that, we weren't involved in this staff meeting. But it's us that have, us meaning the five of us up here that have concerns. So, Mr. Zimbo, you'll let the other applicant that
Yes, sir.
will
Very
be,
good. Yes, sir.
know that we're going to be, these are the questions we're going to be asking DOT.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. All right, so at this point, it's time to open up to the public since it is on the agenda. We do have a submission from the Coastal Conservation League. I'm going to hold off on that because if I get a council motion to table this, then I'll save this for when we bring it back up for second reading. So to save time, unless there's someone in the public who has any comments or questions, anybody from the public? Want anybody online? Okay, so let's go to motion, and if there's, depending on what the motion is, I'll open it back up for comments, questions, and public comment. Do I have a motion to approve, disapprove, or make any changes? And we have to do this one at a time, to ordinance 2023-2-2B.
Mr. Mayor, point of, you could table all three in one motion.
Well, we can?
Yes, sir. A, B,
All right,
you
so
could do, A,
again,
B,
for
and
the
C at a
purpose of
date, sir.
time,
Yes, sir.
I'm going to make a motion that we table until the council meeting of
Your next
April
meeting's the
20th.
20th.
All three ordinances, which are 2023-2-2B, 2C, and 2D. We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion. We have a second. Any further comments or questions by council? Seeing none, I'll call for a voice vote on this. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, again, I thank you very much for your patience. I'm going to quote, it seems that every meeting I quote Mr. White. We don't want to be in a hurry to make a mistake. We want to make sure that we've vetted this thoroughly for public safety. We have nothing, not a single thing wrong with your project. I don't. Okay, so we'll see you on the 17th. Thank you. Have a nice holiday. All right. Next, we have new business. It's a resolution of the City of Hardeeville, South Carolina City Council authorizing the city manager to execute an amendment to the retainer agreement with Prina C. Maines. This is Resolution 2023-4-6A. This was the subject of our executive session at the last meeting. Mr. Zimbor, please.
Yes, sir. So this is just updating the current retainer agreement that we have. Ms. Maines, we did discuss some, her request in executive session. I did hear the council's feedback. I had some discussions and negotiations with Ms. Maines regarding her current proposed rate versus what she asked for, and we took into account the cost of living over those previous years, and we've come to a proposed tentative agreement that we're recommending the council authorize, which would be $180 for general legal services that he provides the city, and then for the special legal counsel services, $385 an hour, which is generally paid for by our applicants and other. So we're recommending the council adopt the resolution, which would also include a cost of living increase every July based upon the cost of living increase that's adopted in the council as we adopt our annual budget process. And then this would be retroactive till this January, January of 6th of 2023. That was the day you made the reappointment of Ms. Maines. So we'd recommend the council adopt this resolution for the retainer agreement with Ms. Maines.
Okay, thank you. Let's start the questioning with Mr. Carroll.
That was pretty well, Mike, what we had asked you to follow through with, wasn't it? To be honest with you, I forgot
Yes.
some of the
Yes, it
finer
was.
details.
I think I even got a better deal for the city.
Now, did you negotiate with her pretty firm, or you just
Yeah.
kind of?
Well, she almost beat me in an arm wrestling, but
Okay.
it was close.
All right, we talked about this last time and got, explanations and whatever, and I don't have any more.
Mr. White?
And this is for 1 year, is that correct, Mike? Or how far is this agreement for?
It's 2 years.
2 years, okay, good.
For 2 years.
That's fine. I wasn't sure. I don't have any additional questions.
Mrs. Guzman?
I don't have any additional questions either. I think we did a good job talking about this at the last executive session, and everything was explained in great detail, so.
Mr. Mearsman?
No questions at this time.
I have no further questions. Again, as was stated, we discussed this in executive session. So I'm satisfied. At this point, I'd like to open it up to the public. Would anyone from the public like to make a comment or ask a question regarding the appointment, the retainer of Mrs. Maines? Seeing none, I'd like a motion to approve, disapprove, or make any changes. This is Resolution 2023-4-6A.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve Resolution 2023-4-6A.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any further comments or questions by council or the public? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next, we go on to the Fair Housing Resolution. Mr. Zimbor, please.
Yes, sir. So this is a required action that we accept state funding, and we obviously promote the fair housing within our community. And in order for us to be eligible and receive, we are required to make a public pronouncement of that. So we're recommending that the council adopt the fair housing resolution.
Okay. Mr. Mearsman, you lead us off.
I have no questions with this. We need to get this done.
Mrs. Guzman?
No questions.
Mr. White?
No questions.
Mr. Carroll?
No questions.
Mr. Zimbor or Mrs. Maines, do we need to read this?
If you'd like to, you're not required to.
Not required to. Well, it's short. So, whereas the city of Hardeeville desires that all its residents be afforded the opportunity to attain a decent, safe, and sound living environment, and whereas the city of Hardeeville rejects discrimination on the basis of race, religion, color, sex, national origin, disability, and/or familial status in the sale, rental, or provision of other housing services. And whereas the state of South Carolina enacted the South Carolina Fair Housing Law in 1989, and whereas April is recognized nationally as Fair Housing Month, now therefore be it resolved that the city of Hardeeville does hereby designate April 2023 as Fair Housing Month. So I will ask for a motion to approve the Fair Housing Resolution, please.
Make a motion that we approve the fair housing resolution.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further comments or questions by council? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay. Next, we go to the manager's report. Mr. Zimbor, please.
Thank you, sir. 4 quick things. So the council is aware we do have a budget workshop next Tuesday at 1 p.m. in the council chambers. You did receive your Christmas going away present for your viewing pleasure over the next few days. If you do have any questions before the workshop, don't hesitate to get in touch with us. The April 17th at noon, we are meeting with DOT. That was just discussed previously, so that should be a very informational meeting. We did have a very good meeting with both Jasper County and Beaufort County regarding our workforce training program. We've suggested and sent them a proposal for a partnership. It appears that Beaufort County is going to accept our offer, and we're hoping we can get the same for Jasper County for partnering on our workforce training. So we're hopeful of that. And then just finally, I hope everyone has a happy and safe Easter. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I forget what order we went last time, so let's go alphabetically and start with Mr. Carroll.
Not a whole lot, Mr. Mayor, except that I do hope the public understands our diligence in approving these projects that come along, and also can relate to our frustration, because some of these developments are absolutely fantastic. The developers are great. It's just we have problems with infrastructure that we're going to have to try to deal with, and I just hope that the public does understand that. And also, I want to put out a kudos to city employees, especially Jen and her department, for the Easter egg hunt last Saturday. As usual, Jen and city employees did a fantastic job. I was sitting by Jennifer before I left, and I think she estimated between 800 and 1,000 came. And I don't know exactly what the total was, but it was a great turnout. And not only was it a great turnout, but it was a great turnout for the various children's ages. And there was a lot of adults out there too. And I really was impressed with Steve's cap. He had a nice cap on out there when he was there. It really kept the sun off his head. But anyway, it was great, and I want to thank Mike and the city employees for that. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, next alphabetically, the two new people, I have to get the alphabet down. I think it's Mrs. Guzman.
I don't have anything particular on, other than to wish everybody, city council members and the members out there, a very blessed Easter.
Okay, that would take us to Mr. Mearsman.
First off, I'd like to thank the council. Our concerns over the infrastructure, where at times I may seem on the hard side of it, but it's public safety, and that's what I have to look out for. A few weeks ago, I attended the powwow, which was an excellent event. This past weekend, I came early and helped put out the eggs, and watching those kids pick up 9,000 eggs, and between the three groups, it took a total of less than 3 minutes to pick up 9,000 eggs.
Right.
And somebody asked me what it was like. I says, it's like kicking on a fire ant mound, because it was just like that. But so many smiling faces, and Jen and the staff that was there. We had a couple of vendors that was there. Even our new chiropractor in town was there doing chair massage for folks. It's such a good feeling to see a community come together like this. The police department's presence there. McGruff was wandering around there. It just makes me feel really good that I am part of Hardeeville. Looking forward to, so many great things as we come up, but we have a great staff. We really do. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. White.
I had a chance to come over to the town city hall and meet with a couple of department heads and others concerning some of the things that we've talked about, to get some additional information and get up to speed on some of our discussions, which I found very helpful. Other than that, no additional things to report.
Thank you. I'll make this quick, even though we're under an hour. Still not John Carroll's record, but first of all, I think this is very important. On the 17th, I met with the Sun City Homeowners Association, trying to get some rule changes so that there can be more information disseminated to these communities that don't allow a very limited amount of information, particularly when it comes to election time, where nobody knows who the candidates are and they don't have access to the people. So myself, Councilman John Kemp, who's here with us, I want to recognize him, and Beaufort County Chair Joe Passman all spoke to them individually. So hopefully we have some changes coming. And I bring this up because at our retreat, communication and getting information to particularly new residents about our city can get disseminated properly. And I'll make this quick because I told members of the council this. One of the reasons why it's so true, a couple of days ago, a friend of mine told me that his neighbor, who's just moved in, is convinced that the mayor of Hardeeville decreed that he wants nothing but live oaks so they canopy all the streetways. First of all, we have an ordinance that goes back 20 years. Second of all, I didn't know I could give decrees, although it would be a pretty handy little power. But I think only Putin in Russia has that ability, or that guy from North Korea. But that's the need to have communication. It's a big priority for us. Those kind of things, not only, this guy was convinced, I'm told, that that is the absolute truth. I did spend a couple hours with Beaufort County Chair Joe Passman, and we drove what's known as the Triangle. The traffic, and including what we discussed earlier, and the things going on at Argent Boulevard. These are such difficult situations. As those of you who watch tonight, we are faced with good projects without good traffic solutions, and they're causing me nightmares. So as much help as we can solicit from the counties, from our neighbors, to help us find good solutions, we need all the help we can get. I also attended the delegation meeting where they were holding public hearings about the number of districts for the school board. Congratulations to Station 84 for opening. We went to that uncoupling, and that station is now open. At the LATS meeting, of which LATS is the local metropolitan planning organization, I'm the vice chair, Mayor Salk is the chair of that, and I talked to the people there as well as privately, after the meeting, about the need for help in that triangle area. So projects like we have today, and we can try to come up with good answers. I met with two former councilmen of Hilton Head Island, who was representing a group a nonprofit group that specializes in affordable housing. I turned him over to Mr. Zimbor, so he'll be meeting with that group in the coming weeks. Mr. Zimbor, we got some new rules from Bluffton regarding public comment. Could we bring that to the council and tell us and redline what they changed, and so that the council can decide whether they want to change the rules? And the reason, for those who don't know, towns like Hilton Head and Bluffton have had some very disruptive behavior from the public, and we all need to have our procedures properly, so in case we have, and that's why, I'm so strict to saying, okay, it's your turn to talk, it's your turn to talk. We have to make sure our house is in order so that we can deal properly with these kind of situations, should they happen to us. I would encourage everyone, I sent a note out a couple hours ago. TCL is having a luncheon in their State of the Union. It does cost money. I'll just put it in my expenses. I'm going to go. I would encourage anybody else from the council. It's okay to put that, it's $75 to put that lunch on my expenses, Mr. Zimber? Okay. So I would encourage you to do that. One other thing that came to the city this week for the council's, I said this should go to our foundation for the decision, but I got a call from former County Councilman Henry Etheridge. He's on the Board of Disabilities. You got one, John?
Yes, sir.
Asking the city, and he's asking Ridgeland and Jasper County to have some sponsorship. We get our name on a T-shirt. So, Mr. Zimbor, this is coming up the end of the month. This is the application. Could the Transformation Committee please decide on this and let Mr. Etheridge know whether or not we're going to be part of it? Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
we usually do that. Mike's always worked with me in the past with that. It's not usually, but a few $100 or something. I forgot it.
It's the lowest. The lowest sponsorship is like, I don't know, $100 or
Yes,
something.
but we've always done that in the past, City of Ridgeland and Hardeeville.
Right. So again, and I explained to Mr. Etheridge that we formed this transformation committee to take it out of a political decision. It's an objective decision, and they control the purse strings, and that's the way it should go. So he understands that, and but there is a time constraint there. Any other questions about any of those luncheons? And lastly, I'd like to wish everyone a nice Easter and Passover weekend, and enjoy your holiday, and be happy and safe for the weekend. On that note, I'd like a motion to adjourn. Everybody want to stay?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.